Welcome to Mishna study Masachet Sheviit Perek Mishnah Gimal. Over here in this Mishnah, we're going to discuss luf, right? Continuing with this onion that we mentioned earlier, whose Sheviit has passed. Right. So first of all, that's the luf again. You see, it's like a type of onion. The bulb on the bottom, they have leaves that grow up from it over the ground. Right. The bulb grows under the ground. The leaves grow on top. Now the Sheviit passed. Right. So it grew in the ground on the Shemitah year. And now afterwards, what are you allowed to do with this fruit? What are you allowed to do with these leaves? So in general, we need to know there's a separate mahloket, right? That's our Mishnah is going to be based off of, and it's important to know. Hanabam mentions it he actually mentions when he opens up the Mishnah, he goes, this halacha, meaning this Mishnah, needs certain principles before we jump into the Mishnah. And that is there's a mahloket whether or not you're allowed to use anyone. Are we allowed to use the fruits of Sheviit after the Shemitah year? Shemitah passed, are we allowed to now eat these fruits? So there's a machlokah between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yehuda says after the time of Sheviit, right? You're only allowed to eat perot Sheviit until a specific time. We'll see later on in the last perek, so in the ninth perek. So after that time period, the only people that are allowed to eat those Shemitah fruits are poor people, are aniyim. Right, that's according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yosef says after the time, right, of bi'ur, right, where you're no longer allowed to eat fruits of Shemitah, no one's allowed to eat it. He actually says lo la'aniyim v'lo la'ashirim. Right, that's according to Rabbi Yosef. I would just point out, by the way, that other people are gores differently. Other people actually say that Rabbi Yosef holds that everyone's allowed to eat it. Hanabam says, right, aniyim and ashirim. Hanabam says lo la'aniyim v'lo la'ashirim. No one's allowed to eat it. Now, let's jump into our Mishnah. Luf shavra alav Sheviit. If you have luf and the Sheviit now passed, now it's the next year. The luf grew on the Shemitah year though. So now what do you do with this? Rabbi Eliezer Omer, im laktuani mit alav lakatu. V'im lav yaseh hashboni ma'aniyim. So first of all, Rabbi Yosef holds like Rabbi Yehuda, right, that aniyim are allowed to eat from these. And now he says, if the aniyim took their leaves, right, meaning they took their leaves on the Sheviit year, right? So again, the bulb itself, you planted it beforehand, it grew under the ground before the Shemitah year. Now the Shemitah year rolls in and the leaves are seen on top of the ground. Rabbi Eliezer says if the aniyim collected, they took their leaves on the Shemitah year, and afterwards he comes and he takes out he goes ahead and takes out the bulb. He doesn't have to do anything. Right? It grew through the bulb itself, the actual luf itself grew beforehand. The aniyim took the leaves. That's good. Now, let's say the aniyim didn't take the leaves. So what do? You have to go ahead and form an account with the aniyim, because now only the aniyim are allowed to benefit from what grew on the Sheviit. So if you're picking it right after the Shemitah, the day after the Sheviit, so you have to give the leaves to the aniyim because you're not allowed to eat those. But let's say you pick it a year after the Shemitah. Oh, so now you picked it a year after the Shemitah. So what grew on the Shemitah belongs to aniyim, but what grew afterwards belongs to you. So you have to split it 50-50. And let's say you pick it 2 years after the Shemitah. So 2 years it grew in your, in your field, in your domain, and you grew one under the aniyim, right? And according to the Be'ezer, the aniyim are allowed to benefit, right, from fruits after the Shemitah year. So you keep 2/3 to yourself, and you have to give 1/3 of the value to the aniyim. That's the Be'ezer. Rabbi Yoshua Omer, im laktuanim et alav lakatu. V'im lav en na'anim im moheshbon. Right? So Rabbi Yoshua holds like Rabbi Yosef. First of all, and he says, if the aniyim took what they were supposed to in the Shemitah year, okay, good, it's theirs. Now, if not, the aniyim get nothing. And no one is allowed to eat from these, right? Because according to Rabbi Yehoshua, he holds like Rabbi Yosef, that he's not matir for perot Sheviit after the bi'ur for anyone, and halacha is like Rabbi Yoshua, that no one is allowed to